Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to That Mill podcast. My name's Omer. Joining me is my co-founder, co-host, Mr. Mickey Simpson. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. You all right?
I'm all right. Back to old school, just the two of us. How it all
Proper,
began.
innit? That's it, mate, innit? It's a fucking trip back to the past. I can't believe it. It's like 3 years ago, mate.
Yeah.
It's 3 years ago, near enough to this sort of time where, or well, it's April, I think it was, when it where it all started, mate. So
Well, I think it
yeah,
was June when football came back. That's when we done the Derby game and spoke about that and stuff. So yeah, it's about that time, June, July.
yeah. It's madness, though, isn't it?
Not a bad journey,
Absolute.
mate.
No, no, it's all good. We've lost people. We've inherited new people. We found new people. We've got new people. We've got the website. We've gone super viral on TikTok. Um, we
All right.
we're growing on YouTube massively. Yeah, no, it's all good. Who would have thought it? We were happy as long as we had somewhere to vent, and we had half a dozen people who listened to us every week, and we'd have been happy with that, wouldn't we? We were like, oh
I'm still
yeah,
happy with that, to be honest. That's all
yeah,
I
yeah,
want.
yeah. I mean, you look at all the horror stories you start in a podcast, and it's like, don't be afraid if on your first show that you get 10 downloads or 5 downloads and all that, and we were like, fucking hell, here we go, and it's like it's gone and gone. I remember in the early days we were looking at numbers, and it was like, oh, result, and now we're hitting those. At the end of the day, when we used to have a text, but at the end of the day we go, oh yeah, we've done this much, done that much. And now we're hitting those numbers by 9 o'clock, and we're like, fuck, people actually want to download and listen to a couple of fucking chances, just giving our personal opinion, what probably offends more people than not. I know I offend
Definitely,
more
mate.
people than not, but yeah, no, it's all good. It's nice. It's nice to see you again, fella, because normally we do other shows and we cross over and everything
Hmm.
else. And yeah, and this next season is I think very exciting. I think there's a lot planned for the listeners and our loyal viewers and listeners. So thank you very much for all of you what listen to us week in, week out, episode in and out. And thank you very much for all the comments you leave on YouTube and Twitter, etc. The DMs. We do read all of them. We might not be able to respond to you all, but we do read them all. And yeah, it's much appreciated.
Well, we're not here to strike our egos anyway, but if you've been here from the start, we do appreciate you nonetheless. Mate, we're going to go straight into it and talk about. I mean, you've not been on the last show we done. Talk about Kevin Nesbitt. He signed for Millwall, mate. How would you feel about that initially before we crack on with talking about pre-season and more rumours?
I think the jury's still out. I mean, I'm still not 100% sure on his knee, but hey, if he can score goals and he hits the ground running and, he can stay fit for the whole season and, this time come, April, May next year, and we're talking about the playoffs and we're talking about Kevin Nesbitt scoring, 30 goals in a season or something, then, yeah, I'll be over the moon, mate. Absolutely over the moon that it's a blinding deal. But yeah, we're
We'll have to
waiting
watch
to
this space,
see.
right?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I mean, look, there's a lot of good Scottish players and who come down into the English football, and the Championship is a lot different, I think, to the Scottish Prem. But it's a big decision. I think didn't Hibs qualify for Champions League or Europa?
I think they're in the Europa League. They finished. I think they finished fourth or fifth in Scottish Premier League. They're decent sides, like we said on the show last week. If you haven't watched that, be sure to tune in and catch up on that. Myself and Stephen and Dan just touched on the previous sort of, his form, what he's been like, and obviously discussed the failed medical or the failed transfer in January, mate. What do you
Allegedly.
think? What do you think on that one?
Um, I think, as I said in the chat, and I said to you a lot before, I think this is probably a deal what was tied up in January, and sort of let him go finish what he started at Hibs, and then sort of take him on the new season. Because obviously it was all announced before the transfer window really opened. So I would probably suggest that it was more of a late transfer from January rather than a key June or summer transfer. So yeah, but that's what I said. I said that on the group anyway, and that's where I feel. I think it was probably agreed in January, and they just wanted to look over a few more bits and make sure that he wanted to be here and have no regrets. I think, and I think he finished
Definitely.
he finished strong for Hibs, scored some goals, what helped him get to where they got to, and then he can move forward. clear conscience and everything else. So yeah,
Watch this space. I mean, we'll talk about more transfers and rumours. I mean, there's been a lack of transfers, nothing new announced from the all side of things, mate. But there is some pre-season friendlies to talk about. And
mate,
without doxing you, without going into detail, no Dartford, mate. So you can't walk to Prince's Park next season. So
and no kebab. Isn't it? Do you
no
know what I mean?
kebab.
No
That is
kebab,
true.
and also it means that you're safe. You won't be run over by the stolen car. That was so
That is
funny,
true.
mate. That was so
That is
funny.
true.
Um,
Mickey saved my life last pre-season at Dartford away. That's safe to say. Please chase on there, but you saved my life, mate. So thanks for that. I've thanked you a few times already.
that was so funny though, wasn't it? Because those two coppers, what were walking behind us, where they were just walking down, obviously, and the cars come flying round, and then he's just waved down the other car. The police car will come about 5 minutes later, and he went, "Oh, he's gone up there," and that's it. Do you know what I mean? It was all the excitement, but yeah, Gazer took the corner about 70 miles an hour and could have wiped us both out. Well, definitely you. I was a bit more observant. I stepped back a bit, and then I thought, "Shit, you're not moving," so you had to get back as well. So yeah, otherwise we wouldn't be here now having a podcast.
There you go. Lucky listeners. Or unlucky, whichever way you want to look at that. But, mate, Mill put a statement out yesterday morning. They confirmed their preseason schedule initially with 4 fixtures announced. It went on to say that Lions return for preseason on the 28th of June. That's the first day they report back to Calman Road. So, at this time of recording, it's only 7 days, 8 days away, mate. So, soon to come. And they're going to obviously go to Spain. Everyone's known that all while. And we'll talk about the lack of announcement of fixture out there in a minute. I'm sure you've got something to add into that one. But 4 fixtures announced, mate. 2 away and 2 at home. We've got
One more at
Gillingham away
home.
on the 5th. Well, 2 at home, 2 away at the minutes announced. So 15th of July away at Gillingham, Priestfield Stadium at 1 p.m.
Hey,
kickoff. A
Meccano,
trip to,
Meccano Stadium.
yeah, well, IKEA Stadium. And then a trip to Sutton United on the 18th, 3 days after that, on the Tuesday night, 7:45 kickoff, followed by 2 home games, mate. Before fast forward a week later to Tuesday night at home to nearest and dearest Charlton Athletic. And then we've got a Ian Fleming Love Fest against Fortuna Sittard on 29th of July, Saturday, 1 p.m. kickoff.
Mate, you know you've seen it, mate. I didn't realise that Sittard were are so massive Millwall fans.
Mm.
Um, until I was speaking to one of their fans who runs a channel, and yeah, it was like, oh, we love Millwall, absolutely adore them. We love the way they play, we love everything about them. So just make sure you've got loads of shirts in the shop because when we come over, we'll all be buying them. I mean, allegedly, they're supposed to be a big away following coming as well. Um,
Supposedly so.
yeah, and I said to him, so what other games have you got while you're here? Oh no, we're only coming over to play Millwall. And you're like,
I think it's going to be, like I said, the Ian
no.
Fleming tribute game. It wouldn't surprise me whether or not something was agreed in the transfer fee last season, maybe to suggest that we'll have a home game and maybe they take all the gate receipts. I'm guessing and speculating, but I know that's something that clubs tend to try and do in the past. Obviously, we're linked to another one of their players, but we'll talk about that in a minute when we move on to transfer rumours. But you're right. Obviously, Eredivisie their sides. Fleming kept them up that season, obviously, and was their kind of talisman. And you're right. Obviously, a load of them plan to come over. And I think they said get the club shop ready for all the Fleming letters.
I couldn't.
I think they
I
don't know
couldn't.
our club shop.
No, that's it. I couldn't resist in telling them, don't worry. They probably have the shirt, but you won't be able to buy the letters for it. So you know what I mean. So
Well, we haven't seen the new kit yet, and I would not be surprised if the kit wasn't ready by the 29th of July, even though it's been announced and probably been out there. It would not surprise me. Big opportunity to sell Fleming 10 shirts. Probably, I'm guessing. I'm not going to hate on the club for this. Do you reckon they'll be ready by then on the 29th of July, mate?
I
New
don't
club
know. There's something
sponsorship.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say and what not to say to
Sense.
this. I don't know. There's a couple of nasty rumours flying around, and I don't know. It's weird because I heard it's weird
Say
that
them. It's not your rumours, just as rumours you've heard. Sod it. Say it.
no, I'm not going to do it. Not until I can confirm, because I get on with both parties. Do you know what I mean? To an agree. And yeah, but no, there could be a new sponsor, possibly. Don't know. There's a lot of rumours flying around at the moment, but again, nothing is confirmed. Um, but I was told that the shirts would be out the beginning of June,
Mhm.
and they're not. by
That's
someone.
ambitious, isn't it?
Well, yeah, well, that's what I said. I said, "Fuck me, we're getting them out properly," and I was told the shirts should be out, beginning of June time, unless it will be the beginning of July. We'll wait and see, but I I think it will be a big push. Do we know what the colours are? I don't know. I think the 30-year anniversary. I think that we'll probably have something towards that.
Hmm.
Potentially, I think we'll have another home game potentially around that, maybe. Obviously, I can't confirm or deny any of that because I've not had it really, really confirmed. But you know the person who told us that something was coming, so we might have that. If we do, that would be good. It's another international game, or as such. It's a shame that they're going to Spain and now allegedly there's no matches being played. It's just going to be a pre-season training, warm weather training out there. There might be other teams in the same facility what will play. Sort of half matches, not a full match. Maybe that's the way they get rid of it. But again, it's another season where we don't get to we don't get to see, or we don't get an overseas trip, because we heard they were going to Alicante, weren't we? And we were like,
Hmm.
yeah, mate, we'll be up for that. Do you know what I mean? A couple of days in Alicante would be great. Journey out, back, great. Yeah, lovely. And then, yeah, they fucking piss in your fireworks, don't they? Do you know what I mean? Same old, really, isn't it?
Well, we don't know for sure whether or not there would be a fixture out there. There's nothing obviously muted online about it, but it does say in the statement the club is working to make arrangements for a further friendly, which will be accessible to fans. But this has not yet been finalised. The Lions will make a separate announcement should this change. So let's keep look at this glass half full, mate. But it would have been nice to have Fortuna Sittard away, and I hope there's a reverse next season if things go to plan and everything goes well, and Fleming's still a Mill player, and we maybe sign one or two more from them or two ex players from theirs. But yeah, obviously I mentioned Sittard. That'd be a good, great game. Obviously, foreign opposition coming to the Den. Gillingham away, Neil Harris, and Neil Harris love fest, mate. Obviously, we went to the golf, no, not golf night. We went to the golf club for his celebration night. I don't know what they
Yeah,
coined it as, a night with Neil Harris.
yeah.
Kind of not surprised by that one, to be honest, mate. Obviously, standard stuff, really. Ex Lions manager loves,
I
bit of a
think
love
it's
affair there.
probably
It's clear to see.
I think it's probably a cheaper option, isn't it? Because I can't say. I mean, as much as um, people, bear with me 1 second. My computer was going to reset itself. Um, Contrary to what people believe, when they go, oh, we don't get good fixtures, and we don't get good opposition and all that. Well, you have to pay for all these people, and
Mhm.
I don't think the club's going to pay, big money for a good team, because someone like Arsenal or Chelsea, people like that, you're probably looking 50 grand plus to have a friendly, and then you've got to obviously have the police bill and everything else on top of that, which it's just pointless for a team where our budget and everything else. I think it's just pointless. It's a shame because the fans would love it, but I think realistically we've got to look at it and go, I'd rather them spend that 100, 200 grand on someone's wages and get a player in who we need, rather than just playing it for 90 minutes of football.
I guess it's double edged that one because if it is a big Premier League club, you'd think they'd probably sell the gate out, probably at cheaper prices, so that their families can come down and stuff. But yeah, I suppose that's what you say. It's to roll the dice for clubs to decide whether it's worth the risk or not. And also, if it's a Premier League club, is there going to be trouble? Whatever comes with that as well. If it's a big gate, so I suppose there is variables to that. And also, the Premier League doesn't start till normally a week or two after us. So I guess they're at different points of their pre-season. Typically, normally away through Asia, Europe,
Yeah.
or America or the States or whatever. So just never really lines up, I suppose. Another one, obviously, Sutton, like I said there, mate. Obviously, not much, I don't think, relation there, really. But I know,
Second,
obviously,
second
Alafe
time.
was on loan there twice. But
I think it's the second time we've ever played Sutton.
okay.
And the last time, I mean, I got a message this morning from someone, and I think it's pretty much the last time we played them um, was 1965. Millwall versus Sutton United, 14th of August 1965. Dyer, James, McCafferty, Adams, Dorney, Brown, Martin, Whitehouse, Brown, Jacks, and Billy Neal in. And yeah, it was 9-1. So
I mean, obviously Sutton have skyrocketed up. They're in League Two nowadays. It's quite an established club there.
Merv
So
Williams was
I'm
there.
gutted to be missing that. Yeah, I'm gutted to be missing this game as well because I haven't really been to their ground. So, I'm away, but so be it. I'll have to get another trip in Sutton one day, hopefully. And then finally, like I said, was Charlton, mate, at home. That's a random one,
That's
isn't it? Charlton. What's
well,
going
you
on there?
see, I think that's a naughty one, really, from the club because it's a double-edged sword. 25th of
Mm.
July is 10,000 days since they last beat us, or since
Is that a
they.
fact?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It is a fact, yeah. Someone else tweeted it the other day, and it's pretty much he had the working out. It's pretty much as far as I can believe, it's a fact. We can double check it, um,
Twitter facts.
but can you imagine if they beat us on that day and we don't get to 10,000? I think it's stupid to put it on that day. I would have put it on the 26th or the 27th or something, or put it on the
Obviously,
day.
whoever organised it is not aware of that. But I mean, nonetheless, still the point I'm trying to in a pre-season friendly. I don't know.
On the
It does.
Tuesday night.
It's a bit weird, isn't it? It is weird. It's not just me thinking that, right? I mean, I'm not against it. It's I guess it's somewhat a competitive game considering the season's a week and a half away at the time of that. So, and Charlton will fancy themselves to do well next season. So, as a football game, I'm sure Rout would be pleased about that. But I'm
This,
surprised the club took it on. Honestly, I'm surprised the
to
club
be
said, "Yeah,
fair,
let's
it's
do it."
probably to be fair again. It goes back to the club don't want to pay, and obviously we know that Kavanagh's got connections with Charlton. We know that Sean Daly's got connections with Charlton, and it's probably are you looking for a friendly? We're looking for a friendly. Should we play each other and go from there? Same as Gillingham, and probably to be fair, the same as Sutton. There's probably an agreement with Sutton through the loan deals we've done because there used to be one in with Dartford, didn't there, where we played them on pre-season, and then I think there's a bit of a falling out, so we don't play there anymore. But at least we're not going to fucking Colchester.
It's true. I've been there 3 times now in pre-season. I think I was looking forward for a fourth time, but it's normally quite a nice one. I think we had them on the Friday night last season, so it wasn't too bad. I think I had the afternoon off, went up there with my mate. It was good, good fun. The ground's in the middle of nowhere though, so it's a nightmare
Yeah,
to get the
that's it.
train. But there's
That's
your
it.
nuanced
That's it.
facts for me.
That's
But
it.
no,
Yeah.
I obviously look forward to pre-season kicking off. I do like to normally go, and I'm glad that we're missing Gillingham and Sutton, to be honest, because it's just nice in the summer. You see everyone that you're not seeing for 3 months. You go, right, mate. Those Millwall mates. You don't really associate with them, but and again, you're all part of the same thing. All right, mate, how you been? And that's one of those ones. But no, it'd be great to get going again,
When
mate.
did we
And
last?
like I
When did we last play Gillingham? 4 years ago? 5 years
probably
ago?
4 or 5 years ago. No, more than that. It'd be League One days, 6, 7 years ago.
Maybe it's 6 years ago. That was from that game was the day that Fat Dan never talked to me again or unfollowed me across everything. So yeah, I was
I think
kind
it's
of
7 years ago. I think we're going to
yeah,
our seventh season into the championship now, so which is another topic for another day, though, mate. But you can also talk about your topic another day as well.
yeah. It's mad this how you remember certain games, didn't you? With certain other memories what fall into those games. Do you know what I mean? But, yeah.
I know there's 2 other fixtures announced from the 21s. I know Millwall 11 will play Bromley the same day as the Gillingham game,
Yeah.
so that will probably be mix and match of probably some reserves, some maybe first team. I think last season they split the games up, didn't they, to try and get more minutes in the leg. So I'm
What
sure
would
some
you?
first teamers will feature.
Who would you rather go see? Gillingham or Bromley?
Bromley, definitely.
Mm.
But Gillingham will be a good one. Like I said, I'm going to be missing it, but that's just because it's pre-season and it's the
But there's
first one
just
back.
as
But
many. There's just as many ex-players in either team in there. Do you know what I mean?
mate, it's true. Alan Dunn, obviously, Trotter used to be involved there. Webster's still there. Yeah, you're right. George Alexander.
And then at
um,
Gillingham, you've got Aidan O'Brien, and you.
I tell you what would have been nice
Yeah,
if they could have done it is 12 o'clock kickoff Bromley game, 4 o'clock kickoff Gillingham game. So you could have done both if you wanted to in the same day. But
yeah.
that's, logical thinking, which doesn't always apply sometimes, right?
Definitely not to the to yeah.
Yeah, you catch my drift.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. This show's got
So
no
that
fucking form, is it?
I'm only bantering, obviously. I'm only having a joke, only having a laugh. But I've just thought that off the cuff. But if surely there'll be people that want to go to both games, and it's only 30, 40 minutes down the road from each other. Just a thought.
Yeah, and I think you
uh,
would have probably sold out a lot more, wouldn't you? Because I would have definitely probably gone
yeah,
to both. To be fair,
Yeah, I don't know. I know I would have if I was around. But yeah, anyway, that's pre-season. The fixtures are out. There will be one more, hopefully, for the first team. One to look out for there. And moving on to transfers and lack of them, but rumours nonetheless, mate. I don't know if Leonard
Loads
was
of them.
announced this time. Was Ryan Leonard announced this time last week when we done the show? I don't
Yeah,
think
no,
he
it
was.
was it was announced. I think the day after, or the two days after, wasn't he? So yeah.
So Ryan Leonard signed an extension, got another year with us and sticking around. What do you think about that, mate? I mean, I personally, for myself, I'm quite happy with it. If he's fit, and this is the conundrum with Ryan Leonard, if he stays fit the whole season, or at least 75% of the season, which he hasn't done the last 2 years, he's been available for less than half the games. You can tell he's obviously a good option to have in the squad. He fits in playing, will play five at the back, plays right centre half, can equally play right back and rival Danny Matt for that position at right back. Can also do a job in midfield, as we know, because that's his natural position. I like Leonard. I think he's a good influence on the squad as well. Obviously, I suppose we're losing the likes of Bennett and Malone, experienced players. It's nice to keep one or two faces around that can still do a job, but can he stay fit for enough games to,
Well, that
make an
probably.
input?
Well, who knows? Maybe our sponsor for next year could be Cotton Wool, and we just get loads to wrap up him and Nesbitt. Do you know what I mean? Who knows? Bennett could be coming back too.
I've got this fear in my head, mate, that Bennett signs back. I really do. But again, that's just something in my head. I don't know why, but I know they. I think Wright said after he got released that it's something we want to go down different avenues, but you never know what's going to happen if we don't pursue our targets. Scares me the thought of that because surely we'll be looking for passes new, but we'll see what happens there. But I imagine Leonard's on a reduced contract. I wouldn't think otherwise. I mean, obviously he's not been available for half the games the last 2 seasons, like I said. I'm guessing it's probably more of a incentive to get paid more the more games you play, I guess, Mickey. I mean, we're guessing here, but it's a good deal to keep him around, I think, personally.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be a good. I think he's an experienced head, and he's a good player. When he's fit, he's a good player. So I think I'm happy with that signing. I'm happy that he's staying on for another year because he's an absolute lad for us. So yeah, it's good.
He's a workhorse. I think that's the most important thing for me. He puts a shift in when he plays. He's got he has obviously he's a bit of an engine in a sense in the midfield. Offers legs, which is quite important from the right centre half position. I think he can carry the ball. Got forward for the goal against Blackpool. He set
Yeah,
the goal out for Barashaw's first goal. He offers that sort of output. Like I said, my only reservation is can he potentially keep doing it over the course of a season and be available for 46 games? Probably not, but hopefully he adds that valued squad option when we need him, I suppose. Other transfer rumours, mate. what have we got? I mean, Lewis Travis is one that keeps coming up. Blackburn Rovers midfielder, bit of a random one, that one, but midfielder nonetheless. Played over 200 games for Blackburn Rovers. And we're in for him, mate. I think he's 25, 26 years of age. We've definitely made one bid for him, but from what I've heard and what I've seen online, and I think you're the same, it's less than £1 million for their captain, which I suppose in the Championship, that's not going to get you
but
far, is it?
but then, no, and again, I I think a lot of it is agent talk and that because I can't see Blackburn coming out and saying, we've had a six, we've rejected a six-figure fee or a bid. I can see his agent or someone connected to him doing it, but I can't necessarily see um, Blackburn. I think it's probably a little bit unprofessional to a degree, but you never know. There is loads. I mean, George Cox is another one.
Mhm. That's true, yeah. I mean, just on Travis before we move on to that one, he's on a 3 year contract still, mate. So he's tied up to Blackburn until 2026. As I mentioned, is their captain, played a significant part in a lot of their games. I think we're in a championship group where one of their fans was saying maybe they're trying to move on to a more progressive style of play. And Travis is pretty much a defensive midfielder, likes to sit deep and break up play a bit more, which I guess is a George Saville sort of mould player potentially, if that's the case. But
Yeah,
maybe that kind of progression's in line there to try and bring in different options into midfield. I mean, I don't think midfield's a priority at the minute, mate, but
I
it's an
don't
interesting
either.
one nonetheless.
I mean, I think personally, I think it's strikers what we need more so than anything else. Um,
Well, yeah,
what do we know?
one to keep an eye on. One to keep an eye on
Wingers,
anyway, Lewis Travis.
fast
Sorry?
wingers. That fast wingers is probably fast wingers, strikers, and a goalkeeper. Um, but I don't know. I mean, apology to Gary Rowett whether or not that's a fake fan or whether or not it is the real Gary Rowett, or who made a comment on YouTube that we should lay off Long and concentrate our energy more on the defensive players making the mistakes. What's putting them in? So I've got no idea, but yeah, you have a look through some of the comments on our YouTube, and there is a comment from Gary Rowett, who has made a comment that we should lay off Long and focus our distaste more at the defensive players than Long. So hey ho, do you know what I
Anyway,
mean?
Anyway, on Travis, just to end off anyway, like I said, 3-year deal. We've gone in with a six-figure bid for him. I imagine it'll be north of 2-3 million. That probably would entertain it with Blackburn. I don't see it as a starter personally, but you never know, I suppose. If they sign one or two more players in midfield, Blackburn, then he might become available, mate. So we'll watch ourselves on that one. George Cox is someone you mentioned just then, mate. Left back on a free transfer potentially
He's
is the
left.
rumour. He's left Fortuna Sittard, as you mentioned there, mate. And like I
Yeah,
said, we've got Fortuna Sittard at the end of July. We've obviously covered that earlier. Another player that's in the Dutch market where we said we would go abroad and sign someone from Holland potentially. I think that's what Wright said in an interview. And he
yeah.
also came back from Holland, didn't he, towards the end of May when they were still playing their season. Don't know a lot about him, but he's been a key feature for them, George Cox. So interesting one, mate. No.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. He wants to play more. I think he just wants to play more in England, doesn't he? So yeah, it makes sense. But whether or not he comes here, I mean, I got a comment from someone about him yesterday. What basically he said he's a lazy player. Um, yeah, he's.
Well,
Where
whilst you're
is it?
finding
He
that,
can't play.
well,
He can't. Yeah, he says he can't play foot. Where is it? Now, go on. Say what you're saying. I'll find it and come on.
when you find it, you can talk. How about that? All right.
Yeah,
God's
yeah,
sake.
right. Just
Well,
like
he's a
the old
left back.
days.
He's 25. Yeah, I know. I remember how frustrating it is. He's a left back, 25 years of age. He's born 3 days before my birthday because I'm reading his Wikipedia page here, mate. 14th of January. 25 years of age. He's played 83 league games for Fortuna Sittard in the last four seasons. And well, he's played actually 104 in the last 4 seasons, 110 in all competitions. Signed from Brighton Hove Albion for €50,000 at the time in 2020. I like it. I'm not against it. I can't, like I said, I can't claim to know a lot about him, but he's obviously been a key feature for them. So it'd be interesting to see how that one develops, mate.
Yeah, from a Fortuna Sittard channel. He said, I said, what do you know about George? And he said, I don't know. He wants to play in England, but to be fair, Millwall is not the place for him. He's way too weak.
Interesting. Maybe the physicality of the championship in that fact.
Yep. The other players, what he said that potentially out there that we're possibly looking at is Brian Platt
Hmm.
and Derry John Merkin.
Yeah. Well, there was an interesting video of Brian Platt, weren't there? Someone out with it on a night out, and Brian Platt says, "I'm signing for Millwall." Again, hearsay and allegedly and all that sort of shenanigans. But that was a funny one to see, mate, when he's saying, "I'm going to
No,
sign for Millwall" in the video.
no, that's it. That's it. We
He
got
said,
that
"He did.
video.
He say, I'll see you soon, Millwall fans. I'll
Yeah,
see you
yeah. I'll
soon."
see you soon. Yeah, maybe we'll just post that out. We've got it. So yeah, because it did get deleted, didn't
Definitely,
it?
I think
Um,
so.
and then this Sittard fan said, "We call Merkin the garden and the kitchen footballer. In Dutch, it sounds better. He can't play. He can't play good football, but he is very strong. And Brian Platt is more like Jake Cooper, but less of a leader."
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. We'll have to see how that goes. I think he's also keen to potentially do a show of us, if I'm not mistaken. So watch out for that one. Preview of the
Yep.
Fortuna Sittard game in a few weeks' time.
Yep. He'll
That'll
be
be a good
coming
one
on,
to do.
mate, giving us some Dutch things. He's possibly going to write something of potential Dutch players we should be looking at, who we're possibly not. But yeah, some players in there gives us an insight. I really hope that we get that. Is it Hood Hunk or whatever his name is?
Hoochik, whatever his name
Yeah,
is. Yeah,
yeah,
he's an attacker, isn't he?
yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're in the market in the foreign market, quite clearly in the European market, and more specifically Holland. So, I mean, it served us well last season, mate. So it's worth dipping our toes back into it again, I suppose, right?
Yeah, and it seems so, doesn't it? That everybody is going after Dutch players at the moment, don't they? There seems to
Hmm.
be a whole new since we got Fleming. All of a
Hmm.
sudden now, Arsenal's looking to sign someone, and Liverpool's looking to potentially sign someone, and all of this. And you're thinking, "Fuck off! We were there first. Let us get what we want first, and then we go from there." So yeah,
I think it highlights, it definitely puts a spotlight on it. Obviously, when they see Fleming doing well, definitely at Championship level. I think in the Premier League, I guess we had Eric Ten Hag, who used to be the Ajax manager, so he's got knowledge of that in the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, what was interesting about Cox when I was looking at his profile on Wikipedia was, I think one season he got 5 goals from left back, another season he got 4 goals from left back in 28 games. I think, obviously that guy telling us the reference to him not being quite physical. Maybe we're edging towards a back five if we sign him and play him as a wing back, and maybe he gets more further forward, mate. So
you
maybe
had to
that's your
say it.
winger.
You had to say it, didn't you? You
It's the
had to.
elephant in the room, mate.
You had to say it. Do you know what I mean? I think what probably the ideal situation for Gary is
Hmm.
to have the players to be able to play back five competitively, but also have the players to be able to play back four if we need to change it, but actually be able to play those formations without. If we play a back five, we throw. We knacker ourselves for back four, and vice versa. So
I
yeah, I think
think
there's a lot.
the telltale sign for me will be who we sign in centre halves and how many centre halves we sign. Because obviously we've got Cooper, we've got Hutchinson, Murray Wallace can play there, Leonard can play there, Alex Mitchell's still around in the fold going into pre-season. If we sign 2 centre halves, in my head, we'll go into back five next season. But we'll have to wait and see. The jury's out on that one. I agree with you, mate. But then you look at the outgoings, and Tyler Bury's had a bid accepted to go to League One. Was it someone said the other day? Do we know what club that is yet, or we're not sure? Or I think there was a rumor going around. It was potentially who just got relegated
Ox,
from Championship. Oxford was touted, but I can't remember who else was mentioned. But whilst I look for that, Tyler Bury, mate, potentially coming to the end of his Millwall stay. Give me your thoughts on that one whilst I try and find out the club.
I just don't think the confidence is there. He's good on certain points, but he just isn't. He's just not the full player, is he? He's never really developed into being that full player, which is unfortunate because he's got some talent in him. He's fast, but he just needs to have that developed. And maybe again, it's because we've spoken about it numerous amounts of times before on the show that we don't have attacking coaches. We don't have forward coaches within the team, and
Mm,
maybe we just don't have anyone to be able to develop him in that position.
that is true. I mean, it's a bit of a weird one. Obviously, he's got a love hate relationship with the fans, as tends to be the case with players that play in his position, and kind of flat to deceive. I'm thinking Fred Onyedinma, obviously now a Premier League player going into next season for Luton Town, mate. Tyler Bury is Marmite to Mill fans. You either love him or hate him. To be honest with you, I think Love's a bit generous as well. He's not done a lot for Mill in a Mill shirt. Scored a couple of big goals. I think he scored the winner against West Brom, did in 93rd minute last season. So I remember him scored at Derby away. I remember him scored against QPR. Great finish. But they're few and far between. Maybe you could say it's lack of opportunities to play in the sides. And, last season he was a bit better player and faded away towards the end of the season as well following injury. But I think the final straw in the coffin for him, or final nail in the coffin, was the last game of the season where he supposedly gestured to the fans. But I think if you're going to give it to someone, expect to get it back a little bit. I personally think so. I have no problem with that. I just don't think players like Tyler Bury are made to succeed at Millwall, where they're in and out of games, and that whole Millwall type player esque kind of comment. Is he good enough? Probably not, and he probably wouldn't be a starter for us. But I'd be interested to see how he does if it is Oxford he goes to, and how he develops next season, mate. Nonetheless.
Yeah, I think he just needs to get regular games on rather than just being a substitute player,
Mm-hmm.
um, and build his confidence and maybe get some attacking um, coaching and development behind him, and then maybe move on. He come into it late though, didn't he? Didn't he
He
come
did.
into it late? Yeah.
He was at AFC Wimbledon, then he signed for us, was a 23s player at first under Harris,
Mm.
then got his opportunity under Rowett to come into the side, really, after his loan spell at Hartlepool. Obviously, that was the big one where he scored like 3 or 4 goals in 7 games, got injured in League Two. I mean, I think he'll make a career for himself. Will he come back to bite us in the arse? That's a wait and see moment, I think.
Always.
It's,
That's
it's going to
that's
be
always.
interesting. It'll be
That
an
always
interesting one, mate.
happens, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? You watch, we get Luton in the fucking FA Cup, and Fred will come back giving it fucking loads of big potatoes too, mate. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, this is it. Like, I think some players just are made to succeed at certain clubs. Maybe under certain managers, they play better. So, the jury's out on Bury. I think overall, for us, it's not really gone to plan. He's done well in certain games, but it's been very few and far between, which is ultimately why he's going. But to come back to the formation, it's interesting. We're getting rid of a winger, mate, and we're not linked with wingers to sign. So I think another rumor that's going around is Lyndon Dykes. Obviously, that kind of materialised before we announced Nesbitt. It went quiet, but then I think it went kind of a bit busy again this week, didn't it? With potentially Dykes being linked to the club again. So if we get another forward in, that could be three top forwards to have in the side. I mean, Dykes hasn't scored many goals, but his output in games seems to impress a lot of fans.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the jury's out in there. There's a lot of fans that don't want him, and a lot of fans that think he'll be a good addition. Listen, as long as they can fucking run and they can
Mm-hmm.
score goals, then to me, or potentially score goals, again, we need to make sure that the opportunities are being put to them to score the goals, which hasn't always been that strong. But listen, um, I think we could have a good transfer window this window for, a few of us on the group are sitting there saying, it's a bit interesting. We're never normally linked with this many like named players as such, what are half decent. But it is Millwall, so don't hold your breath. We could get all these names mentioned, and we end up signing fucking um, the
Ollie
old
Buck.
fucking Ollie Burke, Bennett, um, the
I'll
Hoff.
take Ollie
You know
Buck.
what I mean?
If we get Ollie Buck, I'll take Ollie Buck or Burke or back online. I'll just
Would
put that
you?
one out there. Yeah, I would. I think also he could play up front, and if he wants
Yeah.
to try and play two up front and have the 5-3-2 or whatever he wants to do, I would take Ollie Burke back. Not as a priority, but if it gets to the end of July and we're scraping at the barrel a little bit, then we'll sign Ollie Burke. That's kind of what I expect us to do, but we'll have to see.
Nice. Nice, nice. Yeah. If we're scraping the barrel, then we'll have him back. So, yeah. I've got a question for you, though, before we end up wrapping up in a
Go
bit
on,
and that.
go on.
Do you think if someone comes in for Jake Cooper, we should
Mm.
sell him before letting? Because I think it'll be a travesty if we let what we normally do as a club. We let players' contracts run right the way down, and we fuck all out of them. Would you look to cash in on Cooper now, or would you want to keep him and let him run down?
Oh, I mean, before I answer this question, I don't know where I sit with it personally, but Jake Cooper is 28 years old. So still has time to play at this level. He's been unbelievable for us since signing on a permanent and since signing on loan, really, when in that first initial spell under Harris. I think personally, I don't know for facts, I'm just speculating, but they'll wait till the 28th. It wouldn't surprise me on the 28th. They come back to pre season and he signs on the dotted line. New contract's
Yeah,
there for
no.
him.
I listen. I've got. If he signs,
But
fantastic. But if he doesn't, are
mm,
we going to risk running his contract down and getting
I think
nothing?
lessons need to be learned from the Jed Wallace situation. That's for sure. And if you look at players and get attached to them for obviously what they've done for us and how good he is for us, but that could be I don't know 2 maybe 3 million if you're pushing your luck. If a team's desperate to sign a centre half come the season start, and there's players that need to be positions need to be filled elsewhere in the championship, then you would cash in on him, wouldn't you? Because maybe you could use that money elsewhere and buy someone else for the future. You say, for example, £3 million, that can then maybe buy you Charlie Creswell, pushing it a bit, but that could be something that the club maybe needs to have in mind if he doesn't sign a new contract. I think, like I said, lessons need to be learned from from the Jed Wallace situation. So I probably would sell him if he doesn't want to stay. I think you need to get some money in and reinvest it in the squad elsewhere. I think that's quite clear what I'd try and do. Go to Holland and try and sign a centre half from there, mate.
Yeah, a
No,
nice. Yeah,
would you? Would
mate.
you sell him
Yeah, would you?
if he doesn't want to sign?
Yeah, if Rangers come in or someone like that come in for a couple of million, yeah, all day. Because I think
He's all
we've never learned from even as far back as Kale. You
Yeah,
know,
as far back as James Henry and Liam Trotter at one
yeah.
point that were worth a bit of money, in my opinion. In
Well, even
2010,
as far back as Sheringham.
yeah, yeah, true. Just getting the right value for the right players at the right time, right? But I do think from the Jeb Wallace situation, the same people at the club now in the hierarchy and the same managers there. If he doesn't want to sign, you give him till mid-July to decide or whatever, and you sell him. I think that's kind of what the club should be looking to do.
Yeah.
I personally do hope and believe and feel like it'll be back to pre-season. Deal's already agreed. He's on holiday. Comes back 28 to Calvert Road. Signs the contract. Job done. That's what that's my gut instinct. But that's just pure hunch. He's always spoke really highly of the club. He's always spoke
Yeah.
really highly of John Barrowson and how much they've looked after him since he's been here, giving him long-term deals. You know, he's been here 5-6 years now. I think it would be stupid to think it to go elsewhere. I think it's even 7 seasons he's going to with us now, mate. So I can only see it ending in a positive way. But I think also he wouldn't let his contract run down and leave for nothing either. If the club were like, right, you're not signing a new contract, time to go, I don't think he'd kick up a fuss. I think it's quite a mutual kind of relationship, that one, isn't it? So hopefully it's just, like I said, next week, new contract signs and he's sticking around for a few more years. If it's not, then yeah, I probably would sell him. I agree.
No, I agree, mate.
But
I agree. So yeah.
But that's I mean, that's not much to report on the transfer front, mate. But hopefully this time next week or on Thursday, fixture release day. So there'll be another show hopefully going out soon on that one. But the fixture's starting to ramp up, mate, and everything's starting to come around for the new season, mate. Look forward to it.
Yes. I think it's
Sound
going to
more
be great.
excited?
No, I think it's going to be good. I'm still sort of trying to go over last season where I think we
Me
had the
too.
biggest opportunity we've ever had in a long time, and it proves it by the fact of the championship final and the fact that Luton's gone up,
Mhm.
and you're sort of like, fuck, that could have been us. Um, if we hadn't have just, a couple of games pre-season, in the season that if we had have won instead of lost or drawn, and also if we'd have just kept it with us with Blackburn, I mean, it would have been a result. How the fuck Blackburn hadn't scored in 9 games, and then come in and score
Mm.
fucking 4 of them. It looked as if someone walked around the dressing room at half time and said, "Listen, I'll give you a fucking great big bag. Here's 100 grand each. Just fucking don't play the
Throw the
second
game.
half." Do you know what I mean? Allegedly, I'm not
Yeah.
obviously suggesting in any way that they
Mm.
threw the game, but as a fan, we were as high as we could probably get from being 3-1 up in the last game of the season, where we knew that we needed to win to basically go into the playoffs, and then you go get a beer at half time, you fucking come back and you sit there being going, fucking hell, I can't believe we're doing it, to suddenly bang, 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 oh fuck.
You're giving me
What the
PTSD,
fuck?
mate. Yeah, I don't need to talk about it last season anymore. It's dead and buried. I'm with you. This time last week when we were doing a show, I said I'm not over last season. But when you start to see the fixtures come out, we signed some players. We've signed a player, and the
Yeah, don't get
season, the
above
fixture.
yourself. Do you know what I mean? We've
I
only
know
signed one.
the fixtures get released on Thursday. The excitement starts to build again in the anticipation. But it is still hurtful to think about last season. But there we go, mate. We're in championship again for next season. Same grounds, same places.
Not the
But we have
same
got
ground technically.
Southampton, Plymouth. There's a couple of good ones in there, mate, for next
Yeah,
season to look forward to.
Plymouth
So
is going to be
Sh-
a
Sheffield
journey and a half.
Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday's back in the league as well, which is always decent once that's
See
Hillsborough.
Lee Gregory again.
Yeah, that's it. So,
Someone else
there's
coming back
things.
to bite us on the arse. I'll tell you one other thing quickly before we go. I
Go
didn't
on.
see I didn't see that Steve Morrison appointment.
What, go into Hornchurch?
Yeah. I wonder if there's going to be a pre-season to Hornchurch.
21's game. 21's game against Hornchurch. Nailed on, mate. Watch this space. I agree with you. That's a bit of a random one, but I saw an article where he said it's just, he hopes it proves that he just loves football. But in my head, when he's saying that, it's like if you feel like you need to prove that point, it still proves that you think you've got an ego as well. I love Morrison for what he did for us. But yeah, he's another one that could cut off the fans, like Bury did, and different reactions. Funny that. But then again, Morrison delivered on the
But
pitch
he's
and
got
Bury
something
hasn't.
about
So
him, though, isn't he?
yeah, I suppose. I
Morrison's
suppose.
got something about him. I mean, realistically, I'd have Morrison back as a forward coach
Yeah.
because it fucking
Yeah.
teach those lads what's what. Do
It'll
you know
make
what I
it'll
mean?
make them all miserable. That's for sure.
Maybe, but
maybe they need that in them.
at least they'll be able to fucking score goals, hopefully. So yeah,
Cool. Well, that's the end of the show anyway, Mickey. So thanks for joining me, mate. And the band are back together. The deadly duo up top.
that's it, mate. That's it. We'll be back. So yeah, I'm hearing that the ground will look slightly different come when you go in next season. So we'll
House.
wait and
Do you
see
want
on
to
that one.
reveal how so, or you're not going to say?
I just know that there's building work going on at Harry's Bar allegedly. I don't know if it started, if it hasn't, if it has or it hasn't, or anything else. But I do know that allegedly there is some building work taking place at Harry's Bar.
We're gonna have to. I think next show we're gonna have to get you to do a Chris Kamara and stand outside the den and give us a live update. And we're going live to the den. Mickey, can you tell us what's going on at Harry's Bar? I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. Did they? Did it? Eh?
Is that? Well, Mickey, they're telling me there's forklifts going in and they're demolishing the place. Oh, yeah, that's what's going
There's
on.
definitely building. There's definitely building work going on there. So yeah, and it was definitely rumoured that they were going to be making Harry Bar bigger. Yeah, wait and see.
It needs
Hopefully,
the place needs a
it
revamp,
needs.
mate.
I mean,
So
how many times you stood outside and you can't get it, or you can get into Harry's Bar and it's fucking like that? It needs. It's a lot of revenue the club loses, doesn't it? So it needs some investment, and it needs to go. There's rumours going around that the beer's changed as well now. The brewery contracts changed from Carlsberg, so don't be surprised if Moretti ain't there no more.
Moretti.
Yeah, is it Moretti? What was it before?
Beer Moretti? No, it was that Andre Peretti. That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
But then, okay. Well, then there was the Bermondsey Lager or whatever, or Bermondsey Ale or whatever. It's stupid. But I just stick to the Carlsberg. It's easy enough to do. But yeah, I mean, look, we'll have to wait and see. It's nice to hear the club's invested in the infrastructure of the club and trying to improve the matchday experience, if that's the case. So yeah, I mean, that's us, Mickey, isn't it? So if you're new around here, guys, be sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new. Leave comments below, as Mickey mentioned earlier on the show. We do love seeing them, reading them, and replying to them where we can. If you're also on Twitter or socials, be sure to follow us at That Mill Pod. Check out our website, thatmillpodcast.co.uk. Loads of content will be going up there during pre-season. And yeah, that's me and Mickey. Cheers, Mickey, and cheers, listeners.
See you later. Bye.